The insecure alien girl Lyra sat near the large viewing window of the Terran research station. The stars outside burned like silver dust scattered across the black sea. Her violet-tinted reflection shimmered on the glass, but she quickly looked away. She didn't like what she saw. Her skin was soft lavender, her hair a faint blue that moved like mist. To her, it made her look strange, not beautiful. Every time she watched human women walking through the corridors, laughing, graceful, confident, she felt small. "I'm not beautiful like human girls," she whispered, her voice barely louder than the hum of the oxygen vents. Her long fingers touched her cheek as if trying to find what was missing. Behind her, footsteps echoed steady and warm. Ethan entered the room with a half-smile. He was a human engineer, tall, calm, and always looking like he carried light with him wherever he went. "Talking to yourself again?" He teased gently, setting down a datapad beside her. Lyra turned her face away. "Just thinking," she murmured, her voice trembled slightly. Ethan leaned on the window rail beside her, staring out at the nebula ahead. The colors shifted in waves of blue and gold. "You know, space never compares itself," he said quietly. "It just shines." She frowned. "That's not the same," she said. "Space is beautiful, I'm not," he chuckled. Not mocking, but soft. "You think beauty is only skin and symmetry," he said. "You have no idea how rare you are." Lyra looked at him, confused. "Rare doesn't mean beautiful," she whispered. Ethan didn't answer. He just smiled, that same easy smile, the one that made her heart twist in strange ways. Then the alarm blared, red lights flashing across the room. The quiet moment shattered like glass. Both of them rushed to the control panel. Ethan tapped on the holoscreen. "It's a distress signal," he said. "Origin unknown." Lyra's bright eyes widened. "From where?" He traced the data streams. "Saren's Veil," he muttered. "A restricted sector, radiation storms, plasma fields. No one goes there." Lyra's throat went dry. She had heard stories about the Veil. Ships lost forever. Entire fleets swallowed by its light. Why would anyone send a message from there? Ethan turned toward her, his expression serious. "That's what we're going to find out." Lyra blinked. "We?" She repeated. "You mean you're going out there?" He nodded. "We are." Her pulse raced. "Ethan, I can't. I'm not like you. I'm not brave. I'm not strong. He placed a hand on her shoulder, gentle but firm. "You have something no human has. Lyra, you can sense distortions, feel the fabric of space. If there are lives trapped there, only you can guide us." Lyra shook her head. "I don't even trust myself," she said. "You shouldn't trust me either." Ethan gave a small grin. "Too late for that," he said. "I already do." The words hit her like warmth through ice. Her throat tightened. She wanted to argue, but her voice broke instead. "Why?" she whispered. "Why do you believe in me so much?" He looked out at the stars again. "Because every time you think you're weak, you do something no one else could," he said quietly. "That's real strength." The alarm faded, but the silence it left behind was heavy. Lyra turned toward the window again, her reflection trembling in the glass. She didn't recognize the person looking back anymore. Hours later, as the station settled into emergency readiness, she found herself standing inside the ship bay. The sleek vessel Aurora 9 rested on its pad. Gleaming under cold light, she felt small again. But this time the fear came with a strange sense of purpose. Ethan walked up behind her, carrying a small bag. "You don't have to come," he said. "But if you stay, someone else might die out there." Her chest ached. Her mind screamed to stay, to hide, to disappear. But something deep inside whispered otherwise. She took a slow breath. "If we go into the Veil," she said, "we might not come back." He smiled. "That's the adventure part." Lyra sighed. "Humans are reckless," he laughed softly. "Maybe. But we're also hopeful." She turned toward him, meeting his gaze for the first time without looking away. "You really think I can help?" "I don't think," he said. "I know." For a long moment they just stood there, two beings from different worlds bound by something unspoken. Finally, Lyra nodded. "Then let's go save whoever's calling," she said quietly. Ethan grinned. "That's my girl." The words made her heart skip. She turned quickly, pretending to check the ship's systems, but her face was burning as the engines powered up. The floor rumbled beneath her feet. She looked out one last time through the launch bay window, at the vast dark ocean of stars beyond, and for the first time in her life, she didn't whisper that she wasn't beautiful. She whispered something else. "Don't let me fail," Ethan's voice came from behind her. "You won't." The bay doors opened, light flooded in, and Aurora 9 lifted off the platform, carrying an insecure alien girl and a human who saw beauty where no one else did. The distress signal, the ship Aurora 9 slipped through the edge of the nebula. Its hull shimmered under blue lightning veins that danced along the dark clouds of gas. Inside, everything hummed, the engine, the oxygen flow, the nervous heartbeat of the alien girl who sat beside the human. Lyra's hands trembled slightly on the control panel. Her senses reached out like invisible threads, feeling the energy currents around them. The nebula whispered with radiation storms and static ghosts. Yet somewhere inside that chaos, a faint voice kept calling. "It's repeating," Ethan said, eyes fixed on the holo display. Same message, same coordinates. Lyra closed her eyes, focusing. The voice wasn't sound, it was pressure, vibration, emotion. She could feel its sadness. "It's not just data," she murmured. "It's someone begging for help." Ethan looked at her, impressed. "Can you locate it?" She nodded weakly. "Maybe. But it's buried inside a collapsing gravity field. Then we'll dig it out," he said without hesitation. Lyra turned to him, frustration and fear mixing in her voice. "You don't understand. If we cross that field, even your ship's shields might fail. The veil doesn't forgive mistakes." He grinned faintly. "Neither do humans when lives are on the line." The ship trembled as they moved deeper. Waves of electric light pulsed outside the windows, painting Lyra's face in silver and violet. Ethan's steady hands guided the controls while her glowing eyes tracked distortions humans couldn't see. "There," she whispered suddenly, pointing toward a storm of spinning light. "That's where the signal hides." Ethan adjusted course. "Got it, brace yourself." As they entered the gravity fold, alarms flared. The hull groaned like a wounded beast. Energy waves slammed against the shields. The ship's lights flickered, and for a second, everything went black. Lyra gasped, clutching the console. The psychic noise hit her mind like thunder. She saw flashes, broken ships, faces frozen in fear, and a single blue eye staring from the dark. "Lyra," Ethan's voice cut through the storm. "Stay with me." She blinked rapidly, sweat running down her temples. "I'm fine, I can stabilize it." Her voice grew firm. She extended her hands over the glowing interface. Virelian energy pulsed from her fingertips, merging with the ship's core. Slowly, the trembling ceased. The storm parted like curtains before her will. Ethan exhaled deeply. "Remind me never to doubt your instincts again." Lyra gave a shaky smile. "I told you I'm not beautiful, just useful." He chuckled softly. "You keep saying that like beauty and strength aren't the same thing." Before she could answer, the screen flared bright. A massive silhouette appeared through the dust. A derelict ship, ancient and torn apart, half its hull glowing red from radiation burns. "There it is," Ethan whispered, "the lost vessel." Lyra's eyes widened. "That's not a Terran design." He zoomed in. "No, it's older, looks hybrid, human tech mixed with alien systems." The distress beacon flickered weakly from a broken tower on its hull. "Signal source confirmed," Lyra said, "but the life signs are faint." Ethan clenched his jaw. "We'll board it." Lyra's pulse quickened. "Board it?" "Ethan, that ship's reactor could collapse any second." He gave her that same maddening grin. "Then we'd better be quick." She sighed in disbelief. "You humans really have a death wish," he laughed softly. "Or maybe we just have hope too big to die." Lyra didn't respond, but deep inside, a strange warmth bloomed in her chest. Minutes later, the Aurora 9 aligned with the derelict vessel. Magnetic clamps locked, and the docking tunnel extended with a metallic hiss. The lights dimmed to red. "Ready?" Ethan asked, slipping on his helmet. Lyra hesitated, her tail twitching nervously. "I'll stay here and monitor." He turned back, meeting her gaze through the glass. "You said you could feel life in there. I can't. You're the key." "Lyra," her breath caught. She wanted to refuse, but his eyes told her everything. He trusted her completely, taking a deep breath. She followed him through the tunnel. Each step echoed like thunder in her ears. Inside, the derelict smelled of burnt metal and dust. Broken corridors stretched into darkness, lights flickered, showing faint marks on the walls, scratches. Handprints, something desperate. Lyra touched one of the cold surfaces. "These aren't human," she said quietly. "Virelian script. It says home lost." Ethan frowned. "Your people built this?" "Long ago," she said, her voice trembling. "Before the wars." A soft sound echoed deeper in the ship. Like a mechanical heartbeat, Lyra's eyes glowed brighter. "There, Life signs ahead. They followed the sound until they reached a sealed chamber. Inside, faint blue pods pulsed with weak light. Cryo-sleep units, Ethan whispered, maybe survivors. Lyra moved closer, placing her hand on one pod. I can sense them, their minds are still alive. Barely, Ethan smiled in awe. Then we wake them, Lyra hesitated. If we do, the power core will overload. He nodded. Then we save as many as we can before it does. For a moment, she simply stared at him, this reckless human with fire in his heart, and realized something. He wasn't afraid of death. He was afraid of not trying. Okay, she said softly. Let's save them. Together they began working in silence. Glowing lights reflecting on their faces, and somewhere in the broken halls of that ancient ship, the faintest hum of life began to rise again. Lyra didn't notice it at first, but Ethan did. Her lavender skin shimmered brighter, her confidence returning with every breath. She wasn't the insecure alien girl anymore. She was becoming something else, something extraordinary. Journey into the Veil. The derelict ship hung in silence behind them as Aurora 9 turned deeper into the nebula. The veil pulsed like a living creature, waves of light bending and curling as if the stars themselves were breathing. Lyra sat in the co-pilot seat, her fingers glowing faintly over the navigation sphere, guiding them through corridors of energy invisible to human eyes. Her mind reached far beyond the metal walls, feeling the invisible rivers of force flowing between dying suns. Every current whispered, every spark told a story. She could sense the danger long before sensors could. Ethan watched her with quiet awe. You look like you were born for this, he said softly. She gave a shy smile. Maybe, but I never thought I'd use my gift again, he frowned. Why? Her voice was calm but heavy. Because my people said emotions weaken focus. They said love, fear, sadness, these are human flaws. So I tried to erase them. But now, every time I feel something, I can see clearer. Ethan smiled faintly. Maybe emotion isn't a weakness, Lyra. Maybe it's our connection to the universe. She turned to him, her eyes glowing with reflected stars. You talk like a philosopher, he chuckled. Just an engineer who listens outside. Lightning storms twisted across the ship's hull, but Lyra's control was perfect. The way she moved, calm, graceful, unshaken, felt like music. Ethan almost forgot the danger as he watched her. Then the sensors beeped sharply, breaking the stillness. Something's following us, he muttered, tapping the screen. A shadow flickered across the nebula's light, large, angular, and silent. Pirates, Lyra whispered, her heart skipping. They hide in the storms and feed on wrecks. The comm crackled. A deep voice filled the ship. Unknown vessel. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Ethan cursed under his breath. They must have tracked our beacon. Lyra's pulse raced. We can't fight them, Ethan. Their ship is bigger. He looked at her. Steady as stone. Then we won't fight. We'll vanish, her eyes widened. Vanish? Can you bend the light currents? He asked quickly. Hide us inside the storm? She hesitated, then nodded slowly. Maybe. But I'll need to merge fully with the field. Do it, he said. I'll hold the ship steady. Lyra placed both hands on the console, her veins glowing silver. A faint hum filled the cabin, like a heartbeat echoing through the metal. The nebula's light began to swirl around them, bending, folding, swallowing their ship in a sea of shimmering mist. Outside, the pirate vessel slowed, scanning the void. They're gone, one of the voices hissed. They can't just disappear. But Aurora 9 was already hidden, drifting within the living storm, invisible to both radar and light. Lyra opened her eyes slowly, her body trembling. It worked, she whispered. Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. You did great, she smiled weakly. You really trust too easily. He grinned. That's what keeps me alive. The storm quieted around them, revealing a path of dark space ahead in the distance. A faint glow pulsed, something ancient, something calling. That's the core of the veil, Lyra said softly. No ship has ever gone that deep. Ethan's eyes narrowed. Then we'll be the first. As they advanced, the stars thinned out, replaced by glowing threads of energy stretching into infinity. The sight was breathtaking. It looked like the inside of a living galaxy. Lyra whispered, It's beautiful. Ethan nodded. And dangerous. The ship vibrated as gravitational ripples passed through them. Alarms flashed briefly but held steady under Lyra's control. She could feel the heartbeat of the veil now, a rhythm older than any civilization, a pulse that responded to her own. She looked at Ethan. The signal comes from the center. He leaned forward. Then that's where we're going. As they descended, the light outside changed color, from blue to gold to a deep crimson glow that made the entire cabin shimmer. Lyra's eyes widened. That energy. It's alive, Ethan frowned. Alive? Yes, she said quietly. It's not a nebula, it's a living field, maybe created by something or someone. He felt a chill crawl up his spine. Are you saying it's aware of us? Before she could answer, the lights flickered again, and a voice, soft, melodic, not mechanical, whispered through the comm. Lyra of Virelia. Why have you returned? Her blood froze. That's impossible, she whispered. It knows my name. Ethan turned to her. What is that? It's the Keeper, she said, trembling. An ancient sentinel my people built to protect the Veil. It was supposed to be destroyed long ago. The voice came again. Calm but powerful. You were cast out for your empathy. And yet you bring a human into sacred space, Ethan muttered. Great, even the AI's judging us now. Lyra took a shaky breath. Keeper, we're here to rescue survivors trapped in your field. Please let us pass. The voice paused, then said, Prove your worth. Child of emotion, the nebula's colors twisted violently, and energy tendrils began forming around the ship like glowing serpents. The Aurora 9 groaned under the pressure. Alarm screamed. Ethan gripped the controls. Lyra, what do we do? She closed her eyes, focusing. It's testing us, she said. It's sensing my fear. Then stop being afraid, he said, gritting his teeth as the ship shook. I can't just turn it off, she cried. He shouted back over the noise. Then feel something stronger, trust me. Her breath hitched, her eyes opened wide, and she looked at him, not the storm, not the danger, only him. The fear melted, replaced by something fierce and bright. The storm responded instantly. The tendrils withdrew. The Keeper's voice softened. Heart of the void. Accepted, the turbulence vanished, the veil cleared ahead, revealing a golden path leading to a massive ship suspended in light, half inside space, half inside time. Ethan exhaled, stunned. What in the stars is that? Lyra smiled faintly. That's where the signal comes from, she said. The lost ark of Virelia. And as they moved toward it, the last remnants of the storm faded behind them, replaced by a silence so vast it felt holy. Lyra glanced at Ethan, her voice soft. You said emotion isn't weakness, he smiled. Looks like the universe agrees. The lost ship. The golden mist parted slowly as Aurora 9 approached the shining relic floating in the center of the veil. The ship was enormous, larger than any Terran dreadnought. Its hull glimmered like liquid glass, fractured with ancient runes that pulsed faintly with life. Lyra stared in silence, her heart pounding. That's impossible, she whispered. This ship vanished before my people even met humans. Ethan's eyes widened. How can it still be running after centuries? The Ark was built to endure, Lyra murmured. It carried our first explorers across galaxies. It was our hope, our beginning. Ethan smiled softly. Looks like we found your history. But Lyra's expression darkened. Or what's left of it, as Aurora 9 docked. The bay doors of the Ark opened automatically, glowing with soft blue light. It was as if the ship remembered her, welcoming her home when they stepped inside. The air felt different, thick, heavy, alive. The corridors stretched like veins of glass, glowing with energy that pulsed to an invisible heartbeat. Lyra moved slowly, her hand brushing the walls. It's still conscious, she whispered. The Ark itself is alive, Ethan followed close behind, scanning with his hand held. Energy readings are off the charts. Lyra, if this ship wakes fully, it could power a planet. She stopped suddenly, her gaze fixed on a large circular door ahead, engraved with ancient symbols. That's the core chamber, she said quietly. It holds the memories of my ancestors. Ethan raised an eyebrow. You mean like a data vault? Lyra shook her head. No, like souls. For a moment he couldn't find words. You're saying, this ship remembers them? She nodded. Every captain, every mind that ever guided it. Their essence remains. The door slid open with a deep sigh, revealing a massive chamber filled with crystalline pillars that floated in the air. Within each one shimmered a faint silhouette, faces, shapes, fragments of lives long gone. Ethan stepped closer, whispering, This is incredible. Lyra's eyes glowed softly as she approached one of the pillars. Her reflection merged with the faint image inside. A woman who looked just like her. That's my ancestor, Captain Virelia herself. Suddenly, the lights brightened and a calm voice filled the air. Descendant detected. Lyra froze. The Ark recognizes me. Ethan glanced around. Should I be worried? The voice spoke again. Foreign presence detected, identify. Ethan raised his hands instinctively. Human engineer, not a threat. The voice hummed thoughtfully. Human. Accepted. Lyra exhaled in relief. It trusts you. He chuckled nervously. Good to know. I was half expecting vaporization. But then the voice changed, deeper, sadder. The Ark has been waiting, Lyra of Varelia. The balance is broken. The veil is dying. Lyra's breath caught. Dying. How? The Keeper sustained the barrier for eons, but emotion was forbidden, the Ark said. Without empathy, creation decays. Ethan frowned. You mean your people tried to erase emotion and it destroyed their world? Lyra nodded slowly. It's true. We thought feelings made us weak. The Ark pulsed softly. But you brought emotion back into the veil. That's why it opened. Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder, smiling gently. Looks like your heart just saved the universe. She turned away quickly, hiding her smile. Don't say things like that, she whispered. You make me believe them. A sudden tremor shook the floor. The glowing pillars flickered. Alarms echoed through the chamber. Warning, the Ark announced. Power instability detected. Reactor collapse imminent, Ethan cursed. Of course. Every time we find something amazing, it tries to explode. Lyra ran to the central console, her hands flying across the controls. The core is unstable. The Keeper's link is failing. If it collapses, the veil will consume everything inside. Ethan grabbed a toolkit from his belt. Tell me what to do. You can't help, she said, shaking her head. The core reacts only to Varelian energy. Then what happens to you if you try to fix it? He asked sharply. She hesitated. It might take my life. He stepped forward, eyes blazing. Then we find another way. There isn't one, she said, voice trembling. If the veil dies, billions could vanish. Ethan clenched his fists. No, I won't lose you. Her heart stuttered. The words hit deeper than the chaos around them. She smiled faintly. You humans, always dramatic. And you aliens, always stubborn, he shot back. The lights dimmed, energy flaring dangerously around the core. She turned toward him. Promise me something. What? If I fail? Finish the mission. He grabbed her wrist. You won't fail. She looked into his eyes. Something ancient and fragile passing between them. You make me wish my people understood love, she whispered. Before he could speak, she stepped into the glowing circle. Her body rose slowly, surrounded by golden light. The runes on the walls ignited, and the Ark's hum deepened into a roar. Energy surged through her veins. The ship responded, stabilizing for a moment, but she screamed in pain as the current threatened to tear her apart. Ethan ran forward, shouting her name. Lyra, stop! Her voice echoed through the light. It's working. The energy grew blinding. And then, silence. When the light faded, Lyra collapsed into Ethan's arms, weak but alive. The Ark's hum turned gentle again. The voice spoke one last time. The veil endures. Because she remembered how to feel. Ethan held her close, whispering, You scared the stars out of me. She smiled faintly, her head resting against his chest. But I'm still here. He looked down at her, his voice soft and more beautiful than ever. Outside, the veil pulsed once more, stronger, alive again. And deep within the golden light, the Ark of Varelia sang a song that hadn't been heard in 1,000 years. A song of rebirth, emotion, and the unbreakable bond between a human and an alien who finally saw the beauty within, the confession in the void. The Ark of Varelia drifted quietly in the center of the veil. The storm outside had faded into calm golden clouds, and for the first time in centuries the ancient ship felt alive again. Its hum was softer now, almost peaceful, like a heartbeat that had found its rhythm. Lyra sat on the floor of the observation deck, wrapped in a thermal blanket. Her lavender skin shimmered faintly under the glow of the nebula. She looked weaker than before, but her eyes still held light. Ethan stood nearby, fixing a damaged control relay, his hands steady even after everything they had survived. You should rest, he said gently without looking up. Lyra smiled faintly. Humans always tell others to rest right after risking everything themselves. He chuckled, tightening a loose wire. Maybe it's our way of pretending we're fine. She tilted her head, studying him. You're strange, Ethan, he grinned. That's what every alien I meet says. Silence filled the space between them. Not awkward, but fragile. Like the quiet before a confession. Lyra's gaze drifted to the window, where the light of the dying stars painted her reflection in gold and violet. When I touched the core, she said softly, I saw memories that weren't mine. Ethan looked up curious. Whose? My ancestors, she whispered. Captain Varelia's. She was like me, afraid, uncertain. She loved someone who wasn't supposed to exist in her world. A human, Ethan froze, his breath catching for a moment. A human. Back then? Lyra nodded slowly. He saved her just like you saved me. He smiled faintly. Guess history repeats itself. She turned toward him, her voice trembling. You don't understand in our culture. Love between species was forbidden. It was called a corruption of purity. Ethan set down his tool, walking closer. And what do you call it? Lyra looked up at him, her eyes bright with emotion. I call it the only thing that ever made me feel alive. Her words hung in the air like a spark in the void. For a long moment, Ethan said nothing. He just looked at her, really looked, at the way her hair caught the light, at the faint scars on her skin from the energy surge, at the courage that shone beneath all her doubt. You know, he said quietly, when I first saw you on that station, you looked like you wanted to disappear. She laughed softly. Maybe I did, and now he continued. You're the bravest person I've ever met. Lyra smiled shyly. You make me believe things I never dared to believe. Ethan moved closer, close enough that he could see the tiny flecks of silver in her eyes. Like what? She hesitated, her voice barely a whisper. That maybe I'm not ugly? He shook his head slowly. Lyra, you're beyond beautiful, and I'm not talking about how you look. Her cheeks glowed faintly blue. Then what are you talking about? He smiled softly. The kind of beauty that doesn't fade. The kind that saves lives, inspires others. Changes worlds. She turned her face away, flustered. You always say things that make my chest hurt. That's called feeling, he said quietly. Welcome to humanity. A small laugh escaped her, soft and genuine. It's painful, she whispered. He nodded. It's worth it. The lights dimmed around them as the ark adjusted its orbit. The stars outside glimmered brighter, as if listening. Lyra leaned her head against the glass. What will happen now? Ethan sighed. We repair the ark, get the survivors to safety, and maybe figure out how to keep this veil stable. And after that? She asked softly. He looked at her, his expression unreadable. After that, I go wherever you go. Her breath caught. Why? He shrugged. Because somehow I started caring more about one stubborn alien girl than an entire galaxy. Lyra blinked rapidly, her heart pounding. You shouldn't say things like that. Why not? Because I might believe you, he smiled. Good, because I mean it. For a long moment, neither spoke. The hum of the ark filled the silence. Gentle and alive, finally. Lyra said quietly, Ethan, can I ask something? Anything, he said. When you first saw me, did you really think I was beautiful? He chuckled, stepping closer. Honestly, I thought you were strange, distant, mysterious. And yes, beautiful. Her eyes widened, even with the lavender skin and glowing eyes. Especially because of them, he said with a smile. You look like you were carved out of starlight. She blushed, looking down. Humans are good with words only when they mean them, he said. Lyra looked up again, her voice trembling. Then tell me, what do I have that human girls don't? Ethan took a step closer until his face was just a breath away. His voice dropped to a whisper. You have the universe in your eyes. The words hit her harder than any energy surge for a heartbeat. Everything around them disappeared, the hum, the stars, the ark, until there was only the warmth between them. Lyra smiled faintly. You really are reckless, he grinned. Takes one to know one, outside. The veil pulsed once more, brighter than before, and the ark drifted forward into a calm sea of stars. Two silhouettes standing side by side, one human and one alien, both finally understanding that beauty wasn't about perfection. It was about connection, courage, and the light found in the darkest places of the universe. The return to Terra days passed quietly inside the Aurora 9. The once shattered nebula was calm now, glowing like a sunrise spread across eternity. Lyra spent most of her time near the viewing glass. Watching the golden waves roll and fade, Ethan was at the pilot's console, guiding the ship back toward human space. The silence between them wasn't awkward anymore. It was gentle, familiar, filled with unspoken things neither could describe. You've been quiet, Ethan said finally, glancing at her reflection in the glass. Lyra smiled faintly. I'm listening to the veil. It feels alive again. It's happy. He laughed softly. Happy. You can really feel that? She nodded. Everything that lives, even space, carries emotion. He leaned back thinking, maybe that's why humans always talk to the stars. Lyra turned toward him. Because you believe they listen? He grinned. Exactly. Outside, the stars stretched into long lines as the Aurora 9 jumped through hyperspace. The hum of the engines felt almost like a heartbeat. After everything, the Keeper, the Ark, the storm, Ethan couldn't help but marvel at the alien girl beside him. A few weeks ago, she had been quiet, insecure, lost in her own doubts. Now she sat like someone born of light. Calm, strong, sure. Lyra broke the silence. Ethan, she said softly, when we reach Terra, what will happen? He hesitated. We'll report what we found. The Ark, the survivors, the living veil. Humanity will want to study it. Maybe even protect it. She looked down, her voice barely above a whisper. And me? He frowned. What do you mean? Your people don't always welcome outsiders, she said. They'll see me as alien, dangerous, different. Ethan smiled gently. Then they'll have to get used to being wrong. Her lips curved upward. You make everything sound simple, he chuckled. That's my only real talent. The ship shuddered as it exited hyperspace. Terra rose ahead, a blue-white marble surrounded by rings of defense satellites and trade routes. Lyra gasped softly. It's beautiful. Ethan's chest tightened, seeing Earth through her eyes. Yeah, it is, he murmured, but not as much as you think. She glanced at him curiously. Why not? Because sometimes we forget how lucky we are to live there, he said. Humans spend so much time fighting that we forget what we're fighting for. Lyra's expression softened. Maybe that's why the universe keeps sending you reminders. He looked at her and smiled. Like you? She blushed lightly. Maybe. As Aurora 9 approached orbit, dozens of signals lit up their comm system. Unidentified vessel. State your registration, crackled a voice from Terran control. Ethan transmitted his ID. Captain Ethan Cross, returning from mission Vega Theta, requesting medical clearance and docking rights. There was a long pause. Then an excited voice answered, Cross, you're supposed to be dead. Report immediately. Lyra giggled quietly. Your people don't sound calm, he smirked. We panic first. Celebrate later. Docking clamps locked onto the hull. The ship settled gently into the orbital bay. When the ramp lowered, a flood of bright light hit them. Dozens of officers, engineers, and medics stood waiting. Some stared in disbelief at Lyra's lavender glow. Ethan raised a hand. She's with me. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Cameras clicked, reporters shouted questions. Is that an alien? Is she dangerous? Did she control the veil? Lyra took a small step back, overwhelmed by the noise. Her tail flicked nervously. Ethan noticed immediately. He moved closer, placing a steady hand on her shoulder. It's okay, he whispered. They're just loud. She smiled weakly. Humans have strange ways of saying welcome. He laughed softly. Yeah, we really do. Later, inside the central command hall, high officials listened to Ethan's report. When he finished, the room was silent for a long time. Then Admiral Rain spoke. So, to confirm, you claim an alien artifact revived itself and this Varelian helped save it? Ethan nodded. Without her, we'd all be dead. The Admiral looked at Lyra, studying her. And what do you want from us, Miss Lyra? Lyra hesitated. I only want peace between our people, and a place where no one is called less beautiful for being different. The room fell silent again. Then the Admiral smiled slowly. Then welcome to Earth. Ethan exhaled in relief, glancing at her with a grin. Told you. That evening, after the debriefings ended, they stood together on the balcony of the orbital tower. The Earth turned silently beneath them, cities glowing like constellations. Lyra's eyes shimmered. Your world is loud but beautiful, she said softly. Ethan smiled. Kind of like someone I know. She laughed quietly. You never stop saying things that confuse me. He shrugged. I call that honesty. She turned toward him, her gaze warm, and I call it reckless. He stepped closer, his voice low. Reckless is what saved the stars. For a moment, they just looked at each other, surrounded by the endless night. Finally, Lyra whispered, Ethan, thank you for seeing beauty where no one else did. He smiled gently. You never needed me to see it. You just needed someone to remind you it was already there. Outside the glass, the first rays of Earth's sunrise broke over the horizon. Bathing the room in light, Lyra watched it silently. Her reflection glowing gold, and somewhere deep inside her heart, she realized she wasn't the insecure alien girl anymore. She was part of something greater, a bridge between two worlds, a living reminder that love could exist even between the stars. The star within night had fallen over Terra. The city lights shimmered like constellations scattered across the dark. High above, the orbital station floated quietly, holding two souls who had just changed the fate of galaxies. Lyra stood near the wide glass window of the observation deck, watching the curve of Earth beneath her. Her reflection looked different now, stronger, calmer, alive. The same lavender skin she once called strange now shimmered beautifully under the starlight. Ethan walked in silently, holding 2 cups of steaming tea. "I thought you might like this," he said. Handing one to her, Lyra took it carefully, smiling. "Humans drink warmth to feel safe, yes?" He grinned. "Something like that." For a while, they just stood there side by side, sipping in silence, watching clouds swirl far below. The Earth looked peaceful, unaware of the ancient war that almost consumed its sky. "You know," Ethan said finally, "when I first met you, I thought you hated humans." Lyra smiled faintly. "Maybe I did. Or maybe I hated what I thought I could never be." He turned to her. "And now?" She looked at her reflection again, then at him. "Now I see that beauty isn't about being human or alien. It's about having light inside, something that doesn't fade. Even in darkness," he smiled softly. "That's exactly what you are." Lyra, the light in the dark, her eyes glimmered. "You always say things that sound impossible, and yet they're always true," he said. She laughed quietly, a soft melodic sound that blended with the hum of the station. "You humans are impossible too." "Maybe," he said with a smirk. "But that's what makes us interesting." Outside, the stars began to align as the Aurora 9 passed over the horizon. The veil itself, far away, pulsed once more, alive and vibrant. The Keeper had sent a message earlier, a signal of peace that now traveled between galaxies, connecting human and Varelian worlds for the first time in history. Lyra's voice softened. "Do you think our people can really live together?" Ethan looked thoughtful. "It won't be easy, but big things never are," she nodded slowly. "Maybe they just need to see what I saw. One person choosing understanding over fear." He smiled warmly. "You're talking about yourself, aren't you?" She blushed faintly. "Maybe." He leaned closer, lowering his voice. "Then you should know, because of you, the galaxy learned something new." Lyra tilted her head, curious. "What did it learn?" "That humanity," he said softly, "wasn't the only species capable of love." Her heart trembled. For a moment she couldn't speak. Her throat felt warm, her chest heavy. "Ethan," she whispered, "why do your words always feel like they touch my soul?" He chuckled gently. "Because I mean them." She looked away, her eyes glistening. "I used to think I was a flaw, a mistake in creation. But now, I feel like I was made for this moment." He reached out and took her hand, his touch steady and real. "You were," he said. "You were made to remind the universe what it forgot. How to feel." Lyra's fingers tightened around his, her voice trembling. "You make me wish I could live 1,000 years just to see what your kind becomes." He smiled softly. "Then we'll build something that lasts that long." She looked at him. "Together?" "Together," he said simply. Outside, the stars seemed to bloom brighter, their light reflecting in Lyra's eyes. Her heart felt like a sun, burning, alive, unafraid. For the first time, she didn't see herself as alien. She saw herself as part of the story of the stars. The girl who once whispered, "I'm not beautiful like human girls," now stood in silence beside the man who showed her what true beauty meant. Ethan squeezed her hand gently. "You know, you still never told me what you see when you look at me." Lyra smiled shyly, her voice almost a whisper. "I see a reckless creature who thinks with his heart and saves galaxies by accident." He laughed softly. "That's fair." Then she added, "And I see the reason I stopped feeling alone." He froze for a moment, then smiled, warmth spreading across his face. "That's the best thing anyone's ever said to me." They both turned back toward the stars, silent but connected. As the orbital lights dimmed for night cycle, the two figures stood together, a human and an alien. The embodiment of what the galaxy never thought possible. Understanding, hope, and something far greater than either species alone could define. The Ark's final message echoed faintly through the comm systems across the galaxy. A transmission that carried her voice and his. Woven together, beauty is not in the eyes, but in the courage to see light in others. And somewhere beyond the stars, the veil shimmered again, alive, vast, endless, carrying the memory of a girl who found her worth and a human who helped her see it. Lyra looked one last time at the planet below, her voice gentle as starlight. You said once that space doesn't compare itself. It just shines. Ethan smiled. Yeah, I remember. She turned toward him, her violet eyes glowing brighter than ever. Then I think I finally learned how to shine too. And as the Aurora 9 sailed back into the horizon, the universe watched in silence, holding its breath. Because somewhere between the stars, two hearts, one human, one alien, had changed everything.